jewelry makers. My name is Joey Balistreri, and today I'm working on 2 more projects using this month's Curated bead box. I absolutely loved this box. Let me just pull it into the camera for those of you who haven't gotten yours yet. It's called Pure Passion, and this is a fabulous value box, and it normally has just glass beads, marble style glass beads, and a findings pack, and normally it is, glass pearls and that kind of thing. But this month we got 2 gemstone beads in this box, and just beautiful disc beads, and just a little bit different than what we have gotten in the past. So I highly recommend this box, and if you don't subscribe to it, it's a value box, and the monthly subscription is really affordable. And if you want 35% off your first box, you can use my code Joey35, and the link will be in the description box below. So what I'm doing today is a bracelet set and also a pair of earrings. So I've pulled out the beads that I want for the earrings, but I'm going to do those after I finish my little bracelet set. So the first one is already completed, and I just used 3 of the links that came in the box, these beautiful rose links, and there were 4, so we have another one there to do another project with. And then I just created simple components using these beautiful disc beads, and let me just grab, I just love the rose quartz, and I love red and pink together, but this red and this pink are very beautiful to my eye. It's just a lovely combination. It's not a super shiny or like orangey bright red, and the pink is a very soft blush pink, and these colors together just make me happy. And then you can see what I did here. The marble style glass beads that came in the box have a little darkness to them, some like black veining, and that just looks really great with the black wash that's on our silver connectors in this box. So my second bracelet is going to be an alternating series of repetitive components. So I made those in advance because it is literally this little bit larger component with the marble style glass bead and the little disc beads in between, and then a component with just 3 disc beads and simple loops on each end. So that is literally all I did, and this bracelet is that rosary chain or beaded chain look where we just open the simple loops and connect them, and I'll do that off camera. But what I was going to do with you is make our own clasp, because we did get lobster claw clasps in this box, but I wanted to do something a little bit decorative. So I used the same wire that I used to make all of my components. It's the Beadalon 20 gauge medium tempered round German style wire, and it's one of the wires that I reach for all the time. So I did this very sweet little clasp. The open end has one of those little disc beads there, and then I made a decorative hook for my clasp, and I'm going to do the same thing on this other bracelet. So I'm going to take just a little cut. I have one for each end of the clasp, a little cut. I have 2 here, and just warm and smooth that wire. It's not a step to skip, because the wire will behave for you quite a lot better if you do not skip this step. And so we'll start with the hook end first, and what I'm going to do is, I have so many pliers here, I am going to come in with my round nose pliers and just make a little bend, just kind of start getting it bent. And it is a really good thing if you have your nylon jaw pliers. The word just went right out of my head. I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today, so I wanted to finish my project in case I start to feel worse. And so all I'm doing is gently encouraging this to go together, and just keep warming and straightening. Even switch hands and use the nylon jaw pliers on this end. And so this is going to be, let me just pull my sample one in. This that we're making here is the hook end of the clasp. So I'm just going to really get it warm and really coax it together. And then I want to take one of the wires. I usually choose the shorter wire, and I'm just going to pull it away a little bit so they're not tangled up. And I'm going to bring in my pliers, and remembering that this section here is your hook. So the further down you come, the larger hook you are going to have. So on my sample piece, you could see that, let me turn it this way, you can see that it's about that long, and I came down about twice that length. So that was a pretty good length for me. So I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to come right here, and I'm going to just bend that straight out. And I do want to encourage these to be a little bit closer together. Just use my nylon jaw pliers and smooth and straighten everything. Now on this clasp, I did put these both ends of this little clasp on my bench block and hammer it before I completed it, and I really like that look. So I'm going to do that. My bench block is here off to the side, so I'm going to just pause the camera and hammer this on both sides and give it a little bit of texture. I don't know how well the camera will pick up what I've done on this clasp, but in person it's a really nice effect. It just, that little hammering and texturing makes it look so much more like so much more than just craft wire. So I'm going to pause, do my pounding off camera, and I'll be right back. So important to note is when you hammer wire, for those of you who are not familiar with hammering on wire, you change the molecular structure of the wire and it becomes work hardened and a lot more rigid. So I was careful not to hammer down here where I still have wrapping to do, because you can maneuver it a little bit after it's hammered. I took my nylon jaw pliers and just tightened this up and just smoothed it this way after I did the hammering. And you can do that, but if you wire wrap and do a lot of moving with the wire after you've hammered it, you stand a chance of breaking it. So I just wanted to mention that for those of you who are going to be hammering for the first time. And now it feels a little bit strange, but we're going to pretend that this is kind of like a regular wire wrapped loop. And I'm just going to go around as many times as you like the look of. On this one, I think I did 5. I just like the coiled effect at the end of the clasp. It just looks really pretty to me. And I am going to make a loop on this end, so let me go ahead and straighten this. Here I did this one without a bead, but at this point you could put a bead here before you do your loop. I'm not going to do that because this was the perfect length for my bracelet. So that is also another way to add a little bit of length to your bracelet, by adding a bead onto your clasp if you need to do that. So let me just do what we normally do. Make sure there's nothing sharp. And now I'm going to come back with my round nose pliers, and right about in the middle, I am going to bend that right about in the middle. I want a nice hook on it. Just bend it right over those round nose pliers. And then I want to grab the end here and just pull it out like a little kick. It is a beautiful little shepherd's hook design. And then you can play with the shape of your hook, but essentially that is all we have to do. And then I like to leave a little bit of space if I'm not putting a bead on my clasp, and when I make my loop, wire wrap back down so that the wraps meet the ones that I've already done. So that's what I'm going to do on this again. And I don't want a super big loop. I'm going to stay kind of close to the end of my round nose pliers because I don't want to have a real big loop at the end of my bracelet. And then this part is just our normal, the way we would wire wrap a component with a bead on it. And I'm just going to wrap all the way down until I meet up with the wraps that I already did. So there we have a really pretty little hook that can go right on the end of my bracelet. And now for the other end, this is another fairly simple wire wrapped loop. I'm going to start just like we do a wire wrapped loop, but I want to leave myself a little bit of space. I'm going to come down, you know, and I didn't even measure. I would say this is about a 5-inch piece of wire. You might want to do 6 inches just so that you don't short yourself. And that way you have some choices with how many wraps you do and that kind of thing. And I'm going to grab a bail making plier that I have. I am not sure what millimeter it is, but it's the one that I used on this end, and it's a really nice bracelet size. And it's just like a wire wrapped loop. Just use that mandrel, come around, make sure everything is centered. I'm going to leave it on the plier and just wrap that around as many times as you want. Take that away. As many times as you want. This ended up being a good size. I think I only did 3. You could match the other end a little bit with your wraps. And so then just put my plier in there and make sure all those coils are sitting right next to each other. Trim the excess. And I'm going to do the same thing on this loop to make it match the other end. I'm going to pause the camera and do my pounding off camera. I just want to hammer it a little bit and give it a matching texture to the clasp on the other end. So I'll be right back. So after I finished hammering my little loop and giving it a little bit of texture to match my hook, I went ahead and connected all of the links in the bracelet so I wouldn't bore you, because you know, you guys, I'm sure if you're watching me, you've seen this done. You just open and close the simple loops like a jump ring and connect the next one, and you know, it's just a simple beaded chain. So that part is done. And now if you wanted to, this would be the time to add a bead here. So I'm not going to do it. I want to leave this one plain, but if you wanted to, this would be the time to add your bead and then do a normal wire wrapped loop. But I'm going to do this side plain and kind of repeat what I did on the other side, where I leave a tiny bit of space and wrap my loops right back down. I realize I have a lot of beads on the mat, and I hope it's not stopping the camera from focusing for you. And then I'm going to try to match the same size loop that I did here so that it actually looks like a clasp set. And what I will say about making your own clasp like this is that I usually do this for necklaces. It is not my preferred clasp for bracelets. And so I've tightened my little hooks down. I pinched them in a little bit and made them a little bit dramatic, a little bit. And I'm going to put these on my bracelets and wear them a little bit and see how well I think they stay on, because it's not normally what I would do for a bracelet, but it's a very beautiful technique and I really like doing it. And so I thought I would share it with you today. But I am notorious for changing clasps or even pendants after I've created a piece. So you might want to give it a try. If you're really hard on your jewelry, this may not be the clasp for you. But I work from home and I just don't tend to be real hard on my jewelry. So, you know, you have to assess if this is something you can get away with or not. And then I'm going to do a simple connection, just like I did with the other components in my bracelet. Just open this, attach my little hook on this end, little bit of work hardening on those loops, and attach my pretty loop on this end. And I did use my 3mm one-step looper so that all of my loops on these two bracelets are consistent. And so this little bracelet is done. And these hooks are quite easy to get on by yourself. And like I said, I'm going to just pinch mine closed just a little bit and see how it goes. I absolutely love, love, love these colors together. Curated Bead Box did an amazing job with the beads and the colors this month. So I'm going to hook both of my bracelets, and they are finished, and I love them. I was just going to show you that I also was experimenting with making my own toggle clasp. I didn't feel comfortable with that on the bracelets, but this is another great technique if you want to toggle for your own necklaces. So that was just a little bonus thing. Set that aside. And I am going to also kind of push my beads out of the way so they will not hinder the camera from focusing. And we're going to do our earrings together. And so in my little bead mix that came, let me show you what I have here. I have already done a pair of earrings. If you did not see that video, go back and watch it. It's a really sweet pair of floating heart earrings, and even a little bonus project at the end, another type of earring. I can show you what they look like. This is what the set looked like. And I did a sample earring of the hoop that would go in your ear, and I was going to make a second hoop so that there were two pairs of earrings. But I started thinking about the runway trend that I'm seeing with one small short earring and one asymmetrical kind of long earring, and I thought, what a beautiful set to have a heart hoop in one ear and the dangling earring in the other. So the idea just kind of came to me after, when I was photographing these for my editing. So anyway, that is a really fun video to make your own wire hearts, and if you haven't seen it, you might enjoy that one. So on this pair of earrings, I have pulled some ear wires from the box, and in this mix that we had, there were some sort of mismatched, like I only got one of these top drilled little disc beads, and there were some cube beads, and just it's a little bit of a random mix. And in mine, I had two of these beautiful like frosted glass beads, only two. I really wanted to add a little bit of black in one of my bracelets because of the black wash on the roses, but I only had two. So I decided to make a coordinating pair of earrings with two of the rose quartz, two of the black, two of the red lentil beads, and then two of those little silver spacer beads. But before I can string on my beads, I am going to do my own sort of head pin, and I'm going to use, I love my Zuron pliers because they're so small, but I am going to use my Casual Comfort pliers because of the shape of the chain nose on these. And I don't know if you're able to see, but you get a nice square edge in there. And that's what I'm going to use to make a little triangle at the bottom of my earrings. Now, I also have this little mandrel set, which you could use something like this, really anything you need to get your shape started. This is a really cool little set. It has one handle that interchanges, and it has several shapes. So it has the square shape, it has a round shape, and it has this cool oval shape, and it's very lightweight, and I keep that in the work basket by my table. So it's good if you're sort of new to wire working, because you have a nice big fat handle to hold on to, and you can really have a lot of fun with wire and this little set of mandrels. So if you don't have a set, excuse the noise, I'm going to set those aside. If you don't have a set of pliers that will help you with this, maybe look for something you know, that will give you the right shape. So what I'm going to do is start at the end of my wire, and I see that I need a nice clean cut. It's always good, since this is going to be the finished part of the earrings, to start with a nice blunt cut. And I'm going to, in fact, mark my pliers. Just since I'm making earrings, I'm going to just take a Sharpie marker, and I'm going to choose a spot. I want it to be rather small, so I'm just going to choose a spot here and just make a little mark so that my earrings will be the same. The other thing that I do sometimes is keep both of my wires together, and in the other video that I did the heart drops with, that is what I did. When I make earrings, sometimes I keep both wires together and do the wraps together. So I can try on this one to do that, but I also want to warm and straighten the wire. For the longest time, I shied away from making earrings because I would make one earring with the wire, make my shape, and then I would struggle to have the other one matching it. So for the longest time, I shied away from making earrings, but I learned to hold both of my wires together where possible and make a mark on my pliers, so if I am working separately, I can find the exact spot again. So I'm going to just come in there with those two wires together on my mark, just like that, and make my first. Did that one move a little bit? It is a little tricky to hold the two wires together, I won't lie, but that's, to me, less tricky than trying to match up the other earring. So that's our first little bend. And then I'm going to put the plier back on that mark. You can see where it's at. My little hook is over this side, and give it another bend. And now I'll separate them. So that gives you a good chance of having a matching set. And I just want to, in fact, I'm going to switch back to my little Xuron pliers that I love so much, and I'm just going to just adjust my angles a little bit. I want it to look like a bit of a triangle. So just bring this one in a little bit more, just a little bit, maybe where it's touching. And now I'm going to put my pliers right over the top of that bend and make another bend. Let me just pull it in a little bit more, and I'll continue to straighten and warm that wire. And then I'm going to come around right here. See, I'm using this as the measurement for where to place my pliers, and give it another bend. Warm and straighten. And I think I'm going to do at least one more. So you're making a triangular coil basically. And let me come up just a little bit more. Okay, I am pretty happy with that. And now let me repeat the same thing on my other earring. Just bring that in touching. I also find that when I do a sample earring, like the day before I make a video, I tend to forget what I did. But if I do my earrings at the same time, I'm better about getting them alike. I'm just repeating the exact same thing, just putting my pliers, using this as my guideline for where to place my pliers for the next bend. And see how I did. They look great, and they are nearly perfect matches. And so here's where you can decide where to bend your wire straight up. I think I'm going to do mine right in the middle here. I'm going to come right in the middle Can you see where my plier is? Maybe a little bit more over. And I'm going to bend that wire straight up. Now at this point, before we string on the beads, we can, play with our shape a little bit until we're happy with it. I like to mirror them. So they look really great to me. And now it's just a matter of stringing on the pattern that I decided on. So I'm going to start with one of those rose quartz beads, and then this frosted black glass bead. I love the little disc beads that we got in the box this month, and one of those little silver beads, and it is that simple. And now I'm going to just do a normal wire wrapped loop on these and repeat the same thing on the other earring. And while I have been sitting here working, I have been wearing my bracelet set, and they are really comfortable. And so far I am really liking my handmade clasps on my bracelet set. And this little bracelet set and pair of earrings is finished, and I am going to do a third, well, let's see, this is my third project with this Pure Passion curated bead box. This is my third one, and I am going to come back and do a beautiful design with this heart pendant for a necklace. So that's going to be in the next video, but I will put some pictures of these items up at the end of the video. And I thank you all so much for watching today. I hope there was some takeaway for you, some little technique, some little trick, or some inspiration. That is what I always hope when I make a video and share an idea. I hope everyone is having fun on their beading mats and warm and well this winter. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, I would greatly appreciate it. So consider doing it. It's free, doesn't cost anything or obligate you to anything, and it really helps support my work. So thanks again for watching today, and I will see you all in the next video. Ciao, jewelry makers.